In West Torrance, single-family inventory has vanished to less than 1 month of supply, driving prices up 7%. While just up the road in North Torrance, condo inventory surged by over 30% in 30 days. If you're thinking about selling in the next 6 to 12 months, this is the specific window you're navigating. Selling into today's extreme scarcity versus waiting for tomorrow's lower rates and higher competition. And all of this is happening against the backdrop of a critical Federal Reserve decision made today, December 10th, that could either unlock a massive wave of buyers or unleash a flood of new inventory to compete with you. Get this wrong and you either leave tens of thousands of dollars on the table or sit on the market for months wondering where your leverage went. Selling into this version of the Torrance market isn't just about putting up a sign in the front yard, it's about understanding that we have a split screen economy where one neighborhood is seeing multiple offers in 8 days and another property type is seeing inventory pile up. Mistiming this or applying the wrong strategy to your specific neighborhood can easily mean a difference of 6 figures in your final net proceeds. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly whether it makes more sense to sell within the next year or hold given what is actually happening on your specific street. If you're thinking about selling the next 12 months, you're navigating a window defined by a very specific tension: extreme scarcity today versus the uncertainty of tomorrow. We have a Federal Reserve that just cut rates again on December 10th, signaling a shift in the cost of money, but we also have a softening labor market that is making buyers much more selective. The wild card here isn't just interest rates anymore, it's the inventory squeeze. You have to decide if you want to sell now while supply is critically low and you hold the leverage, or wait for lower rates that might bring more buyers but also significantly more competition from other sellers unlocking their golden handcuffs. This decision impacts not just your bank account, but the stress level of your entire move. When you drive down Hawthorne Boulevard or cruise through the quiet streets near West High, you can feel the difference in energy. We have distinct lanes forming in this city. We have the velocity zones in West and South Torrance where families are fighting over the few homes that come up. We have the entry gate neighborhoods in the historic and Southeast Torrance where affordability is the primary driver. And we have the condo arbitrage pockets where the dynamic is shifting in favor of the buyer. To understand your position, we have to look at the baseline of scarcity. Citywide, the story is tightening, but it's not uniform. Months of inventory, which is simply how long it would take to sell every home on the market if no new homes were listed, has dropped below 1 month in our hottest zones. In plain English, that means that if you stopped listing homes today, everything would be sold out in weeks. That is a hyper seller's market. However, in the attached condo market, we're seeing inventory build in specific pockets. This isn't a crash, it's a divergence. I have homeowners just like you reaching out every week trying to figure out if they've missed a peak or if the best is yet to come. If you want to track this properly, I can set you up with a HomeBot equity snapshot using the link in the description. It helps you track your specific value against these local trends so that you're not flying blind. I'm Mr. Hernandez, your real estate advisor here in Torrance, California. My job isn't just to list homes, it's to build a navigation plan for your equity. Most people look at national headlines or countywide averages, but those numbers are dangerous shortcuts. Your home lives in a specific lane with specific demand drivers. We're going to map out exactly where the speed is, where the affordability ceiling is capping prices, and how the recent Fed moves are going to reshape your 2026 plan. Let's start with where the market is moving fastest: the single-family strongholds of West Torrance and South Torrance. In West Torrance, we're seeing a market of pure velocity. Months of inventory has dropped to a critical 0.98 months. Inventory here decreased by over 15% month over month. Because of that scarcity, the median sold price jumped 17% to $1,375,000. Homes are spending a median of just 8 days in the MLS before going under contract. Move south to the Hollywood Riviera and South Torrance and you see a similar story. Inventory tightened by nearly 6% and prices rose almost 6% to a median of $1,545,000. In plain English, that means these neighborhoods are suffering from an acute lack of product. Buyers are circling, waiting for anything decent to hit the market, and when it does, they are striking immediately. There is almost no shopping around in West Torrance right now. There is only getting in line. If you're an owner in West or South Torrance, your strategy is about confident price pricing and strict terms. You do not need to underprice significantly to generate interest. The scarcity is doing the marketing for you. However, the data shows homes selling at roughly 99.6% to 100.3% of list price. This tells me buyers are willing to pay market value, but they're not going hundreds of thousands of dollars over asking like they did in 2021. Price it at the top of the comps, make it turnkey, and you will likely see offers in the first week. If you're buying in West or South Torrance, speed is your only friend. You cannot wait for the weekend open house if a property hits on a Tuesday. You need to be fully underwritten, not just pre-qualified, so that you can strip away financial contingencies and compete with the cash that is always present in these school district neighborhoods. Now let's move to the affordability lane, the neighborhoods that serve as the entry point to the South Bay. This includes historic Old Torrance, Southeast Torrance, and the Harbor Gateway area. In historic Old Torrance and Southeast Torrance, the single-family market is incredibly tight with a median days on market of just 8 days. The median sold price is $949,000, which is up slightly month over month. Sellers here are getting 101% of their list price. Over in Harbor Gateway, the inventory situation is even more aggressive. Supply dropped nearly 18% last month. Said simply, this is the pressure valve of the South Bay. Buyers who are priced out of the $1.3 million homes in West Torrance are flooding into these neighborhoods, desperate to secure a single-family home for under $1 million. The competition here is fierce because the buyer pool is largest at this price point. If you're an owner in historic Torrance or Harbor Gateway, you're holding a golden ticket, an attainable single-family home. The data shows buyers are paying over list price here. Your best play is to price slightly just under that psychological barrier, maybe right around $950 or $850 to trigger the multiple offer frenzy that is clearly still active in this bracket. If you're buying in these neighborhoods, understand that you are in a war of attrition. You are competing against FHA buyers, conventional buyers, and investors. You need to look for value in properties that might have cosmetic defects, bad paint, old carpet, because the turnkey homes under $1 million are going to see 5 to 10 offers immediately. Now let's pivot to condos and townhomes, where we see a fascinating split in reality, particularly in North Torrance and the higher end areas. In North Torrance, the condo market is seeing inventory build up rapidly, an increase of over 32% month over month. Months of inventory here is now over 2 months. Contrast that with the condo market in Harbor Gateway, where inventory plummeted 24% and prices spiked nearly 14% to $785,000. And then look at South Torrance condos. Prices are up 13%, but the median days on market is 52 days. What that really means for you if you live here is that the condo market is fragmented. In North Torrance, buyers have more choices and time to decide. In Harbor Gateway, they're fighting for scraps. And in the luxury condo market of South Torrance, sellers are getting their price, but they have to wait nearly 2 months to get it. If you're an owner of a condo in North Torrance, you cannot be complacent. With inventory rising 30%, you have competition. You need to stage your unit perfectly and price it sharply against a new listing appearing every week. If you own a condo in South Torrance, patience is your strategy. The data says you can get your price. Prices are up 13%, but you have to be willing to sit on the market for 50 days to find the right buyer. If you're buying a condo, North Torrance and South Torrance are your negotiation zones. In South Torrance specifically, with days on market stretching to 52 days, you have the leverage to ask for credits to buy down your interest rate. This is a tool that simply doesn't exist in the single family market right now. So here's the scorecard. West and South Torrance single family homes are in a hyper velocity sprint. Inventory is gone and prices are climbing. The entry level markets in historic and Southeast Torrance are seeing bidding wars driven by affordability constraints, with homes selling over list price in 8 days. And the condo market is the wild card, offering rapid appreciation in some pockets, but rising inventory and longer wait times in others. If you're an owner in West Torrance, you have the power. If you're an owner in historic Torrance, you have the volume of buyers. If you're an owner of a condo in North Torrance, you have a growing crowd of competition to outshine. If you want to know exactly which side of the line your home falls on, I invite you to request that HomePod equity snapshot using the link below. It gives you a clear data-backed view of your standings so that you can make a decision without the guesswork. Now that's the neighborhood math. Now let's talk about the forces you won't see on a competitive market analysis, the bigger economic picture that drives all of this. First, we have to talk about the Federal Reserve. On December 10th, the Fed cut the federal funds rate by 25 basis points, bringing the target range down to 3.5 to 3.75%. This is the third consecutive cut. Second, the 30-year fixed mortgage rate has responded. As of early December, the average is roughly 6.19%. That is down significantly from the 6.69% we saw a year ago. Third, the labor market is flashing warning signs. Unemployment has ticked up to 4.4%, the highest level since late 2021, and we are seeing softening in job creation numbers. In plain English, that means the cost of borrowing is finally coming down, which improves buyer purchasing power. However, the softening labor market creates a psychological check. Buyers are excited about the lower rates, but they're nervous about the economy. If you're an owner, this rate cut is a double-edged sword. It brings more buyers off the sidelines who can finally afford your monthly payments, but it also signals to other homeowners, your future competition, that it might be safe to sell and give up their low legacy rates. We're entering a window where demand is rising, but supply might soon follow. If you're a buyer, 6.19% is not 3%, but it is a lot better than 7%. The danger for you is waiting for 5%. If rates drop that low, the competition we're seeing in West Torrance will spread everywhere, and prices will likely jump another 5 to 10%, erasing any savings you made on that rate. Now, I have a question for you, and I want you to answer it honestly in the comments. Are you waiting for mortgage rates to hit a specific number like 5.5% before you make a move, or are you moving based on a life event regardless of rates? Your answer matters because these next changes hit neighborhoods differently depending on where you are and when you plan to move. We have established that scarcity is the baseline in Torrance, but the biggest structural change isn't a train line or a zoning law, it is the rate thaw that began today with the Fed's decision. For the last 3 years, the Torrance market has been defined by the lock-in effect. Homeowners refusing to sell their 3% mortgages to buy a 7% mortgage. That lack of selling is exactly why prices in West Torrance are up 7%, but as of today, that ice is beginning to crack. Here is how this plays out in 3 beats over the next year. First, the trigger. The Fed cutting rates to the mid-3s and unemployment ticking up to 4.4% is putting a massive pressure on mortgage rates to fall further. We currently have a huge spread between treasury bonds and mortgage rates, about 215 basis points. If that gap narrows, rates could drop into the 5s even without drastic Fed action. Second, the mechanism. As rates drift down towards 5.5%, the math starts to work again for move-up buyers. The family in historic Torrance who has been bursting at the seams finally decides to list their home to buy in West Torrance. The empty nester in South Torrance finally decides to cash out. Third, the results for you. This means your monopoly on the market is ending. Right now, if you list in West Torrance, you are the only game in town. By mid-2026, if rates continue this trajectory, you could be one of 4 homes for sale on your block. You will have more buyers, yes, but you will have significantly more competition from other sellers. The central conflict for every Torrance homeowner right now is scarcity versus friction. You have the immense advantage of low inventory keeping your home value high today, but you are facing the friction of a market transition where that scarcity could evaporate as rates fall. Of course, doing nothing is still a decision. If you sit and wait for better rates, you're likely waiting for a market where you are no longer the price. So how do you play your cards in this market? If you sell in the next year, you're selling into a market that is hungry for inventory but sensitive to price and quality. You avoid the risk of a flood of new listings if rates drop further, and you capitalize on the current lack of competition. My goal is to make sure future you is glad you handled it the way you did. You don't have to guess about pricing or how the Fed's decision impacts your buyer pool. If you want a clear game plan, you can schedule a one-on-one strategy session with me or request that HomeBot Equity Snapshot using the link in the description. No pressure to list, just the data, look at the roadmap, and make the move that protects your equity. I'm Mr. Hernandez, and I'll see you in the next update.